Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Piwowarski, and this is The Rundown.
Folks, I'm Craig DeLuz, and I'm going to be co-hosting for you today.
Craig, this is a wonderful day. This is one of my most favorite days of the year. Being able to start it with you in the morning is great as well. But you know what today is, Craig? Do you know what today is?
I have absolutely no idea, but I'll bet you're going to tell me.
It's opening day. Baseball season's here. Baseball season's here. It's opening day. It's my favorite non-Oktoberfest day of the year. It's incredible. It's great to be here. I can't wait. Just so everybody else knows, between the hours of usually 7 and 10 p.m. for the next 6 months, you won't see me. I'll be gone. I got things to take care of.
For me, it's Thursday.
It's Thursday. Thursday is your favorite day?
Thursday is my favorite day because it's the beginning of my weekend for the most part. At least I try to. This is the day I try to get things started. It almost never works, but when it does, it does.
My weekend is Sunday morning till about Sunday at noon. That's my weekend. That's the time I get usually to not work. that's about it.
Well, you know what? I'll bet you party hard during that time.
Well, that kind of goes on the whole week. You know, if you make that part of your job, then you're good to go. You've been to SHOT Show. You're in this industry. You know that 90% of the things we do occur after normal business hours.
Yes, that is kind of how the way it works, and I have somewhat come accustomed to it. But I've learned from you that it's important for big deals like that to train. So I train at home. I get ready for when I do go.
You must train up. You cannot take a weak liver with you to one of these events. Yeah,
you cannot. No, you most definitely cannot. And we haven't had an opportunity to do much of that lately. Yep. But looking forward to, as things open up more and more, looking forward to doing more of that.
Yeah, so whatever is going to happen is I will miss some baseball games, have them recorded, and then I'll be up from midnight to 3 a.m. watching them. So the rest of my training, where you don't sleep, that's also going to come into play for the next couple of months. So it is baseball time. It is baseball season, and cannot wait. And it's not this crap we had last year. You remember last year we did this, for those that are not baseball fans, I'm just going to fill you in. A little bit of baseball news. We did this 60-game shortened season crap last year, and that ended up being some kind of tournament, and it was horrible, and all the COVID restrictions and no fans. An anomaly. This year is a full 162-game season, and we're getting ready to start out, and we got a new owner at the New York Mets, and we look like we're going to do really well. We say that every year.
Wait. You want me to take you seriously talking about baseball, and then you say you're a Mets fan?
Yeah,
that seems like a contradiction.
You're a real baseball fan. I didn't just root for the other team across town, that had all the money in the world to do whatever they want with. We earned every win. They bought every win. Now, the win difference was less, obviously, but they were enjoyed much, much more.
Okay, well, you do you, boo-boo.
Oh, boy. Yeah, in fact, Craig, this first story I want to talk to you about today is a baseball and a sports-related story. We have to go back, though, and talk about the voter rights law in Georgia that was just passed. Craig, you familiar with the voter rights law?
Yes, I am actually quite familiar with it. And while the law is fairly decent, the conversation in the media and amongst liberal politicians is, how shall we say, a bunch of poo-poo. But I'll let you finish the story before I give my opinion on it.
Yeah, you've got, and in fact, we've got, you and I have many friends of Atlanta. We've been through there many times doing events, and you have, let's see, the mayor of Atlanta, what's her name, Keisha Bottoms, and she calls herself the president of Atlanta. And then you've got Stacey Abrams, and who failed and lost the governor's race to Kemp there, and she calls herself the president of Georgia. So neither one of them does much for conservative issues, but you have them, and you have some of the other civil rights organizations, and including Major League Baseball Players Association, that are saying it's time to boycott the state of Georgia. The All-Star game, the baseball All-Star game is supposed to be at the Braves Park this year, and they're saying we need to boycott Florida. We need to boycott Georgia. We need to boycott Georgia over this issue. They've even gone to the Masters, down in Augusta, and said you need to boycott Georgia over this issue. And I love their Governor Kemp's response.
What's his response?
His response is, yeah, great. We got COVID. People are having a hard time finding jobs, having a hard time keeping work, and the work we do have, you want to send away.
Right.
You want to say, don't come here. And that includes Hollywood has said, well, we're no longer going to make movies in Georgia. Georgia's a great place for movies, the tax breaks and everything else. In fact, The Walking Dead's made right there just outside Atlanta.
Well, dude, okay, so let's break down why they want to do this.
Yeah.
This is what really gets me, all right? So when you analyze the bill, and see, I did a debate just the other day on this issue, and I'll put it on the Facebook page, but I did a debate with this guy on this issue, and what was odd about it, what really got in my nerve was, okay, so I go on the air, and I start talking about the substance of the bill. I start talking about what the bill does. It doubles the number of weekend early voting days. It also changes some of the hours for weekend voting. Instead of just 9 to 5, it adds 7 to 9 in the morning and 5 to 7 in the evening during weekdays. So for people who didn't have the opportunity, because it doesn't matter, Mike, if you work 9 to 5, right, and you can't go to the polls to vote during 9 to 5, it doesn't matter if you have 5 weeks or 3 weeks. But if you work 9 to 5, if they expand the hours, now it's like, oh, look, unless you're working a 10-hour shift 5 days a week for 3 weeks, now you've created new hours that people can go and vote. They actually codified in law the voting boxes, the drop-off boxes.
Right.
Because, by the way, those were just added by the Election Commission last year. They didn't exist before.
Right.
They didn't even exist. They needed to be codified in law. They were put in law, and they actually made it so that for whatever area you're in, it's based on one. You get one per 100,000 voters. So every area gets the same number of voting boxes based on your number of voters. Every precinct, right? It's just it's odd that they're so angry about this. Oh, by the way, and they made sure that they're secure by not just putting them out on the street in front of some building. They put them actually somewhere where people can get access to, right? Where they can not people who might vandalize them, but where the people can go to, as well as they'll be secure, right? In particular during evening hours.
Folks, these were regular big like Rubbermaid tote boxes that had like a hole cut in the top of them that were just placed out there in neighborhoods, and then a volunteer would go pick them up and bring them back to the to the voting elections commission. And who knows what they did with them in between? Well, we all know what they did with them in between. They filled them with more ballots. They filled them with more absentee ballots that required no signature and no ID cards.
Well, and that's what's so crazy is that this literally what they did was they made things both more secure and they made them easier. They got rid of the signature verification and replaced it with your driver's license or your ID or your state ID, which, by the way, you could get for free. Yeah. I'm just like the number of things they did. They also made it so that they got rid of the needing an excuse to get an absentee ballot. So if you just want an absentee ballot, you can apply for one. You can say, hey, I just want to get an absentee ballot and vote by mail. I mean, there is nothing in this bill that is racist, yet if you listen to the president, if you listen to the mainstream media, if you listen to leftist activists, this is all racist. And the guy I was debating, literally, I'm talking about the substance of the bill. When he comes on, he's just talking about, well, this is a racist bill because it was sponsored by a racist who supports racists and passes racist policies and blah, 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 and racist. Yeah. I mean, he didn't just play the race card. He played it like he was playing. He played over and over again like he was playing the Trump cards in bid whist. Right. That's how bad it was. But that's all they got. That's all they have.
Well, yeah, and that's what you get when you have nothing to stand on. Go back to the racism part. Go back to blaming racism and hope it offends enough or scares enough to where the argument ends. And that's kind of where I want to go to. End in this topic with the Major League Baseball Players Association. Now, that they've been a big part in let's get the Braves to stop playing in Georgia. Let's get the Braves the stadium there and the ballpark and to not host the All-Star game this year. Well, the Major League Baseball Player Association is made up of obviously the former players. It's their union for the most part, but it's very strong politically is where they're trying to be, but they don't really represent the players as much as you think they would. Some cool, couple quick baseball facts. A baseball player is basically an employee for the first 6 years of his career. It's not until he gets to that seventh year, depending on how long his first year on the field was that he becomes a free agent. Until then, they're making league minimum. Yeah, I know league minimum is like $565,000 a year this year, but it's still the league minimum, and they have no real rights. They can't rock the boat, otherwise they'll be gone. There's 780 baseball players on the opening day rosters. The 30 teams, 25 per team, or 26 per team this year. So that's why we got enough. And 1/3 of those players are fully foreign born and foreign nationals that play on these teams. Major League Baseball Players Association is pushing their political agenda, not the players' agenda. So I've got no problem. I could sleep at night knowing I stand up for baseball and the players, not the Players Association that's in it for themselves.
Exactly. People have to understand that, unfortunately, it's sad. I sit on a school board, and I've had to learn that there's a difference between the union and those they represent. We always argue a lot about, law enforcement unions and how often they come against our right to keep and bear arms, or at the very least, they're willing to sell us out in order to say, okay, well, it's okay. Tell you what, you can place that restriction on people as long as our members are exempt. But I also know that the rank and file members, most law enforcement officers, and poll after poll, study after study has shown this, they support the individual citizen's right to keep and bear arms.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. Craig, speaking of school boards, I want to, perfect lead into the next topic here. There's a high school in Florida that has a firearm, a rifle on their auctioning off for charity. Now they're going to have the funds will go towards charity. The funds will go towards senior class. Funds will go towards project. But one of the issues that they have, one of the items that they're auctioning off, and that people have issue with, is they're auctioning off a firearm, an AR-15 style rifle, and they're getting jumped on. They're getting attacked by the media. They're just with this assault weapon and killings, and because I guess they just assume the rifle is going to break out of school and start to shoot people. Which is what you get with firearms related issues. Anything else, we blame the criminal. With firearms involved, we blame the gun. That's where it goes. In your school district, and in school districts in California, how would they handle something like this?
Well, I can just tell you that, first of all, I think it depends on individual school districts. I think a lot of school districts in California would probably handle it the exact same way they did, and that doesn't mean that I agree with it or that it's a good thing. The fact is that a firearm is a tool, and that's really it. I mean, more if not as many people are killed with a car than are killed with firearm. And actually, let me clarify. With an AR-15, it's not even close. More people are stabbed with butcher knives, I think it is, than are killed with an AR-15. But the fact is, it's just a tool, and if you can utilize a tool to raise money to benefit and educate children, then you ought to be able to do that. I mean, it's just this. What's sad is that in many schools there used to be shooting ranges at high schools, right? Kids used to be able to go to school and learn how to respect firearms and how to utilize firearms. Nowadays, we don't want to instill respect. We want to instill fear. We want them to be scared, or we want to glorify it. And that's Hollywood, by the way. I'm not talking about the gun community. That's Hollywood wants to glorify it, and then everyone else wants people to be scared of it. And then we wonder why people get these sort of attitudes. It's just, it works my nerves, sir. It works my nerves because it's all based on ignorance, and that's really what it comes down to.
It really does, Craig. And you and I are about the same age. I remember going to high school and there being shotguns or lever action rifles in the back of the pickup truck, the back window, be hanging in the gun rack. I remember one friend had a black powder, cowboy style pistol inside the vehicle because, the school used to sponsor shooting events, and we used to go to competition shoot, after school, and it was acceptable because it was legal to have them. They didn't come out with overbearing, gun control laws saying you couldn't have these things. Now, I do want to point out that the vehicles that those were in, the kid I'm referring to, he was 18 at the time. The laws passed before I finished high school to get rid of those. But I clearly remember it clear as day. It was legal for him to have them there. And never once did you hear of anybody in one of these schools going out and shooting at somebody. It's absolutely crazy to hear these stories. Every time we've ever heard gun control, the opposition always says, when we get ready to roll back, Craig, when we finally get a law, we can roll back to give us more gun rights. The opposition always says, "Oh, it's going to be like Wild West. It's going to be shootouts in the streets if we do this. And it's never happened.
No, it doesn't happen. In fact, when people have the ability to be able to defend themselves, it's been shown over and over again that the community is safer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of safer, Craig, I want to ask you about your vaccine. Have you gotten your vaccine yet?
Well, I got my first shot. I still have to get my second one.
What's your opinion on getting the vaccines, as far as people mandating or companies mandating or passport style? I know we've talked about, but as far as in the private sector getting vaccines.
I think an individual ought to have the right to decide whether or not they want to get the vaccine or not. It's insane to think that someone else can make a decision about your body, in particular when we're talking about something that is, while I have confidence that it has been tested, it still went through the process relatively quick. And so I think anybody who has a hesitancy to get the vaccine is reasonable. I think it's reasonable to have a hesitancy. I think we can get to herd immunity without those individuals who are worried about or concerned about the vaccine getting the vaccine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, this is your body, your choice kind of thing. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. I know we've talked about this. Everybody should be getting polio, measles, mumps, rubella, everything that's there. It's just that I spent many years as a government pincushion. And I know what it means to get these. We heard that there was typhoid B going on in the country you're going to. So we're going to give you shots for typhoid A, B, and C just in case. Well, when were these shots developed? We don't have that information. Well, how have they been proven accurate? Yeah, we don't have that information. We didn't have the opportunity to ask questions. We just got told to take. So I'm not saying never, ever, ever going to get this vaccine. I'm telling you, I've never, ever had the flu, and I've never, ever had the flu vaccine. If this becomes one of those clear, and the science, I'm sorry, is not there right now. The only science we have going on with this COVID is political science. There is no regular science going on. So
see, I'm like this, and just to be honest with you, I'm like this. I'm actually trying to find a way to get my mutant superpowers, and so I figure, hey, I got some sort of a shot here. Every time they come out with something, you're not supposed to eat this, you're not supposed to drink this because it's not healthy for you. I eat it, I drink it, I take the shot because one day I'm going to be like Wolverine or whatever.
No, I'm good there. If when they bring the vaccine out and it's got a spider walking across the syringe, I'm taking it. I'm pretty. I'm always looking for the right spider. Right. One that glows is what I'm looking for. It just comes down in the middle of the night. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah,
right.
But I want them Spidey powers. Is what I want.
In the end, what it comes down to is this: give us the information, give grown folk the information, let grown folk make grown folk decisions.
Yeah, I bring this up because the baseball team, the St. Louis Cardinals, have players on their team that are saying not taking the vaccine. For all the reasons you and I are talking about, Craig. They've said not taking the vaccine, and now, of course, you got Player Association getting involved. You got the baseball commission getting involved, and I guess it comes down to employers. If the employer says all of our people must have the vaccine, that's the next fight to be had. So we're going to see if that goes anywhere. We're going to keep a track on it. We want everybody to be healthy, not just the baseball players, but this is kind of back to that passport issue we talked about before, where you're going to have show your papers, please. I need your papers if you want to come in. And so good on them. Good on them for standing up for their own selves and saying, no, I want more information before I take this vaccine.
Well, and the other thing to understand is this is not just about this vaccine. This is about the role of the employer-employee relationship, and what can they mandate? So if they're now mandated to be able to take this vaccine, so what happens when the employer says, you know what, I want to put computer chips in you. You are now mandated to take the computer chip. So then what right does the employee have to say no? What right to their own body do they have? This sets an important precedent, and I think it's important that they are having this fight. If they decide to get it or they decide not to get it, the point is the choice should be theirs, not their employers.
Yep, exactly right. Now, and that kind of rolls into the next topic, is that the amount of baseball fans you can see at the parks this year is going to depend on each individual location's rules and guidelines for COVID. Now, we know in Texas, you're going to be able to go to those baseball parks and see 100%. The stadium capacity will be at 100%. Now they're going to have all the nice little COVID hand washing stations, and you're going to have to wear masks, and they're going to ask you to social distance while you're waiting in line for a pretzel and a beer. But in butts in the stands, they're going to be at 100%. Now you have other teams, like take for example the New York teams that are up there sitting under De Blasio's thumb, and they're only going to be allowed to have 10 to 20% of the fans in the stands. So all of a sudden now, because politics is involved, you're going to have an unlevel playing field for fan participation. Anybody that's ever been to a sporting event knows about the 12th man in the stands or the 10th man on the field. It is the fans that make the difference. And this is patently unfair to many of these teams. There's some teams, Craig, they're not allowed to play in their own stadium because of Canada's rules. The Toronto Blue Jays are not allowed to play in Toronto. They're going to be playing in the minor league stadium in Buffalo again.
All right. So first question: do the New York teams actually play in New York, or do they play in New Jersey?
Those are the football teams.
Okay, I knew the football teams played in New Jersey. The New Jersey Jets and the New Jersey Giants. I just want to know if the New York Mets played in New York, and if
in fact that's a constitutional question or a trivia piece. Is that Connecticut was created for religious freedoms. The state of New York was created for tax freedoms, and the state of New Jersey was created to host New York football teams.
It's just funny that New York State was created for tax reasons.
Yeah,
so
right.
They could tax everybody. I'm just
yeah. They've had a little bit of a change of attitude.
yeah, that sounds like it. Well, man, I'll tell you, being as a football fan. It was actually kind of neat watching. As you know, I'm a Cowboys fan,
right?
And they actually were one of the few teams that actually had fans in the stadium.
Right.
Didn't help them much this year. Maybe they could have got a couple of those fans to come out and be on the offensive line for them, but it would have helped.
Well, yeah, sitting at home with that COVID body, a lot of people built themselves into the offensive line.
Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you, it does. I know as a former athlete, I know that it makes a difference. I will say that sports in general when we were without sports, man, dude, it was so hard on me.
Yeah.
The first sporting event was that UFC that came out, dude. I was like so hyped. I had it on the big screen. I had a projector outside. I barbecued. I was like just so needed sports, and it's to see them engage in politics in this way, because, and I know people get mad at this, and I get the people. I know people say, well, this is not politics. This is about safety. It's about COVID. And I'm like, you're the ones that are injecting the politics into all of this. Once again, give adults the information, let them make the decision. I for one, no. Am I really interested in sitting, shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of people in a stadium? Well, there was a time when I would say no. Now I got the first shot of the vaccine. Once I get the second shot, as far as I'm concerned, I'm healthy. I know I'm not in a high risk group. I'm okay. But then guess what? I'm making the decision based on the information that I provided.
Right.
And everyone ought to be able to make that decision.
Yeah, exactly right. It just like I said, this is not about science. It's about political science. It's about making points. It's about fighting, different, government entities. It's horrible. It's horrible for the fans. It's horrible for the players. It's horrible for all of us outside of sports. You apply this everyday life, and this is ridiculous. It's not something I want to be involved in. I've got to. If I go to a sports team down here in Florida, I have to be social distance or have a vaccine card, because if the team that's arriving there is from a different state where they have extreme measures, they're insisting on the extreme measures while they're playing away. It's going to be a whole year of patchwork rules and garbage. What we need is some preemption on COVID enforcement to knock this crap out.
Exactly. Well said.
Craig, I want to talk about the cancel culture. You and I have been dealing with some issues going on in and around the industry for a long time with cancel culture. If your point of view is not seen as favorable to the other side, whoever the other side may be, depending on the topic, we just recently saw Dr. Seuss. It was a subject of the cancel culture. Well, there's another one out there. Maybe not as educational as Dr. Seuss. I'll give you that. But now this little guy is subject to cancel culture.
You're talking about SpongeBob, are you not?
He lives in a pineapple under the sea.
I just at a certain point, we have to get beyond the idea of absolutely positively nothing can be offensive. First of all, the episodes of SpongeBob that they've actually deemed to be offensive, I'm sorry, I don't see how it's really don't see how it's offensive. That's number one. But number two, it's sometimes maybe what we need to do is use those opportunities, use things that may offend as opportunities to educate. SpongeBob in particular is just been a staple with families and kids, and it's just one of the most positive, fun things that is out there. Just very much like Dr. Seuss. Yeah. And so when they do stuff like this, it makes it so very difficult to take them seriously. When you start censoring Sesame Street or right. The Muppets or Dr. Seuss, what the hell is wrong with you people? Yeah. Seriously, yeah. What is wrong with you people? I got nothing to say. What's wrong with you?
One of the episodes that's been banned there for with SpongeBob now is they got to quarantine. Now this episode's 10-15 years old. They had to quarantine because the clam flu had come to town, and they wanted to make sure everybody else didn't get the clam flu. I'm waiting for them to tell me that the clam flu was racist also against clams. So you can't. These are happy clams. We all know that you can be happy as a clam, but if you get a clam flu, you're not happy evidently anymore. So they're going to ban that. And then the other one, because of everything that's going on with the Me Too culture, I guess SpongeBob stole some underwear at one point, and now that's offensive because it involves underwear. So underwear is offensive. He's SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh,
he was in a movie with David Hasselhoff, for crying out loud. I mean, look at this guy.
Okay, now that should be banned. Anything with David Hasselhoff should be banned.
David Hasselhoff.
Except Kit. Kit's okay. You can do Night Rider's all right. That's the only thing that David Hasselhoff did that can still.
Oh, SpongeBob in Kit. Oh, that's a new movie right there. That's a new movie. You're in California. Sell that script. Let's do this. The problem is it's the idiocy. It's like, how do you argue against things that are so stupid? If it's not so stupid, if the mere fact that they did it isn't argument enough. What do you do? Because there clearly is not a brain cell amongst the group of people who decided that this was a good idea. I don't have to have a logical thought on why I'm banning it. I just have to say I'm offended and you're a racist.
Are you saying I'm a racist?
You're clearly, if you don't agree with me, you're clearly a racist. That's what the opposition is going to. That's how they're going to argue with you. You're a bigot.
It's funny because someone did ask me. They said, "Well, what's the definition of racism?" And I said, "Well, racism is you don't agree with them, therefore you are racist." And that is the modern definition of racism.
You're right. You're unfortunately you're very right. You're very right. Oh. Craig, I've got a little photo I want to show the folks. I know normally we put a little meme or a little cartoon here, but I want to hold on. Let me bring this up for you.
Okay, so what are we looking at here?
Okay, this is Sid Finch, and today it's perfect being April 1st, April Fool's Day, and being opening day for baseball season. This is a story about a Mets pitcher. Let's go Mets. Emus Metropoli, LGM, 7-line. This story being about a Mets pitcher that came out into Sports Illustrated back in the mid-late 80s. This guy could throw 162 miles an hour. Now, he did it with his cap on backwards, wearing a boot on one foot and nothing on the other foot. And he could throw 162 miles an hour. Craig, the most we've ever seen baseball throw is 101, 102. That's where the pitches are. And they've been stuck there for years. I mean, for 30, 40 years, we've been at 100 miles an hour. This guy could throw 162. It went on. He was a very unique guy. His name is Sid Finch. If you don't know Sid Finch, look up Sid Finch. That's 2 Ds, SIDD, and then Finch like the bird. Sports Illustrated told a wonderful story about this guy. So great, so wonderful, so absolutely authentic that the general managers from all the other teams, the other 25 teams at the time, they went out and called the commissioner and said, out of fear, Craig, they didn't want to pitch against 162 miles an hour. So they call in the commissioner and they're telling him, you can't have this guy pitch. If that ball hits one of my guys, it could kill him. It's horrible. It's horrible. Craig, absolute April Fool's Day joke. If you took the first letter of every sentence that started his story, it said Happy April Fool's Day. And baseball and the world bought this from Sports Illustrated. They bought it in hook, line, and sinker. The guys that wrote this were astounded. Everybody involved, because there were some Mets players and the GM involved, were astounded that this got bought and it wasn't figured out in the first 3 minutes of the read. There's been stories and documentaries and everything made about how people reacted to this April Fool's Day joke written by George Plimpton that caught everybody. So here on April Fool's Day and here on baseball opening day, I want everybody to go look up Sid Finch and read the original story. It'll take you less than 10 minutes. And trust me, you're going to have a great time.
I have to tell you, sir, you had me there for a while. For me, it was those feet. It was like, those feet do not look believable. I'm like, what is going on with his feet?
Yeah. It's funny. The guy who is portraying the image of Sid Finch, now again, was only in a handful, 5 or 6 pictures that Sports Illustrated published. There's no video links or anything back then in the 80s. Right. That guy is actually a friend of the writer, lives in Chicago his whole life. He's a huge Cubs fan. For many years, he hid from it because he didn't want to be associated with the Mets because they're enemies, with the Mets and Cubs. Now that guy goes around and puts on a Sid Finch jersey and signs autographs. And the biggest question was, how did you do that thing with your feet? And he's like, well, those are just my feet. That's how they are.
Yeah, he's wearing that. I was about to say that looks like a Mets jersey. I'm like, he's a Cubs fan. He's got a Mets jersey on.
Yeah. He came and played for the guy because the whole thing was written over there by George Plimpton again in that Chicago area. This guy was a Chicago fan. So wow. Sid Finch, look up The Curious Case of Sid Finch. Just Google Sid Finch, Sports Illustrated, folks. You're gonna have a great time.
Wow. Okay. Well, you know what? That is an excellent way to end the show on April Fool's Day. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Craig. Always a pleasure to be here with you on The Rundown.
This, sir. Hey, folks, make sure that you subscribe, like and share, and subscribe. As soon as we hit 100 subscriptions on YouTube, we're going to start running these on Facebook as well. But we need you guys, subscribe.
Make sure you say subscribe, Craig.
Oh, yeah, subscribe. Talk to you guys later.